Hello and welcome to the Marin-Sonoma Shop Local podcast where we highlight local businesses, their products, and their services so you can make the informed choice of where to shop local next. I'm your host, Kyle Masterpole, here with Jonathan Mahrt today from Flywheel Consulting to talk about his business. How are we doing today, Jonathan?
Great. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a pleasure having you on. And he is a Petaluma based business. I think this is our fourth Petaluma business that we got here on the podcast. So let's dive in. Tell me a little bit about the services that Flywheel Consulting provides.
Yeah, so we're a boutique consulting firm focused on small and medium-sized businesses. Um, and a few of the things that we do business process improvement consulting, project management, IT implementation projects, fractional CTO services, and just general management consulting. Basically, if you have a pain point in your business and you're too busy working in your business every day, just trying to get the work done, crank the widgets to stay alive, then we come in and help you solve those problems you need to solve. You just don't have time to solve them. In particular, we're looking for ways that we can leverage technology to streamline operations, reduce overhead, improve communication, and just generally make people's lives easier.
Can you give me some examples of those pain points?
Yeah, so one of the easiest ones is just if you have a lot of data siloed in different places, and there's not a lot of communication between those different silos, particularly in situations where you're doing a lot of still manual processes with pen and paper, Excel spreadsheets, then lots of times there's opportunities to take a piece of software that'll kind of bring all those things together and improve communication, visibility into the process from the beginning to the end. So that's one of the kind of the easiest ways, some of the low hanging fruit.
That makes me think of my CPA telling me he still has people putting receipts on his desk for the whole year and says, go through these. I feel like this is something that can help improve that pretty easily.
Yes, that's exactly something. That's like this one of the yeah that kind of that's like a very simple problem that there's so many ways that can be solved depending on the needs of the business. Lots of times, I mean, my dad is a business owner, and that's something he still does. Uh, and I've tried to convince him to do other things, and so sometimes it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. But it is something that I specialize in because I have a lot of experience with it. So it's just a matter of how you communicate it and communicate the problem and the benefits of the solution. So
Is your dad's business a Petaluma based business as well?
it is, yes. My family owns a farm called Petaluma Egg Farm. So we raise chickens and sell eggs in Northern California.
Nice. So,
Yeah,
multi businessman here in Petaluma and
yeah,
multi
yeah, yeah.
generational businessman here in
Yep,
Petaluma.
yep, yep. Exactly.
All right, so we'll jump back to Flywheel and tell me about a client outcome that you really take a lot of pride in someone that you helped.
Yeah, so this kind of comes back to what we've already been talking about. I recently helped an HVAC business that was in exactly the same situation with different data all over the place. A lot of spreadsheets. If when they were doing jobs, they were using carbon copy, paper carbon copies of things where you have stuff in duplicate or triplicate. You write tech gets to the site, writes out everything for the job. The customer signs it. They leave a copy there. They bring a copy back to the office. And then they were invoicing with word documents, trying to keep track of customer information and in Excel, and then emailing everything back and forth. So the problem was is that techs weren't great about filling out paperwork properly. Paperwork gets lost. No one if the techs don't communicate well, and so if they did something, people in the office would have no idea what was going on. Stuff would be emailed, an invoice would be emailed to a customer, but then when there wasn't a good way of tracking it, you know even though things eventually would end up in QuickBooks, they were doing like paper invoice, like Word document based invoices. So everything was a mess, and communication was bad. So what we did is we went out and got a piece of I helped them pick a piece of field service management software where you manage the entire project in this piece of software from beginning to end. So from the initial customer inquiry, you'd create a work order in the tool, you'd schedule the techs to go out on site. they would fill out all the job information in the tool. And so the office would immediately have the information they needed to know what was going on, what work had been done at the site. You'd capture the customer signature at the site. And when the text clocked out, they'd be forced to fill out the information they needed to on the job. And so it tracked how much time was being spent against the job. They were able to estimate all their costs and track how much money they were making or not making on jobs. And then finally, they were able to send invoices from the jobs and then communicate with the customer from within the tool. So basically, everything and all communication with the customer, all documentation with the customer was contained in this one tool, which greatly, greatly simplified their lives and really helped them become way more efficient, have way better visibility into their business.
Do you have, and this would be hard for them to track because they clearly weren't tracking a lot, but do you have an estimate of how much time that saved them overall on a week to week or month to month basis?
That is a great question. And they weren't tracking anything before, and it's
Yeah.
probably something I should dig into to have some tangible numbers for people. But I will say that it was dramatic. I mean, just in like following up on invoices that hadn't been paid alone, sometimes it'd be the end of the year and like, oh, we have all these outstanding invoices and we haven't made sure they've gotten paid. And so then they're tracking down customers as opposed to just like clicking through and seeing everything, all the invoices that need to be paid, or they'd have customers contest something. Oh, you never showed up and fixed this. No, we showed up. And then they say, no, we did, but but the text didn't fill out the paperwork like they were supposed to. They didn't get a customer signature like they were supposed to. And so there, all these kinds of things. I mean, the ROI just from that alone was immense, and this piece of software costs them like, depending, it varies for people and what solution you're getting, but it's $80 a month and they're probably saving that like in one day sometimes. So it was, yeah, it helps a lot.
I think one invoice pays for that for the year, and the extra
Oh yeah.
man hours that are put into it, especially if you're doing it yourself, um,
Yeah.
you're running a
Yeah,
business. So
exactly.
that solves a lot of problems very quickly for people.
Yeah, it does.
I guess money wise, how do you pitch this to people when it's because you could bring up this example? How do you pitch the ROI to new
Yeah,
customers or prospective customers?
that's a great question. It's actually, to me, people are always, especially small, medium-sized businesses, tend to be very resistant to spending money on things that isn't like doesn't always feel like it's immediately affecting their lives. But this is something where the value proposition should be like really obvious. Most of the things I'm going to be helping people with is going to be solving um, real problems, providing practical solutions to real problems that should immediately affect, their overhead, their bottom line. Um, and that's the perfect example of if is providing a software solution to streamline their operations. The thing is that lots of times businesses struggle with process, and if you get the right piece of software in there, it can often provide a framework for a good process, because every software provider is going to have some opinion about the best way to do things, and then you kind of tailor the software to work with you. But then it provides a really structured way for businesses to manage their processes, and that just alone helps a lot. So you should just it should be it's really easy to do the math on the kinds of things I'm helping people with, where you're going to see the ROI, if not within, sometime within a couple months, and for sure within a year, most of the time, just because obviously it varies depending on the situation, but there's pretty tangible results in the things that I'm helping people with.
So I think you brought up something that's really important in that you're going to take this software and you're going to kind of individualize it to this client what they need. And something for me that comes to mind is, and you brought this up too, as a small business owner, I almost raised my hand to be like, yes, I'm hesitant to spend money. And, we will sometimes take our chances in buying some software or buying a product, depending on what your business is, what it is you're looking for. And we might get a product that it's like, I have no idea how the hell to use this. And we're kind of in these constraints of what we can figure out. So I guess I don't know how to structure this question that I'm asking, but how do you help the client solve that problem that you have this software and tailor it to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say generally I'm software agnostic. It's about understanding the business needs of the customer and then finding the best solution for their needs. So yeah, lots of times people do like some quick Googling, pick something, start using it and only use it 25%, or they get too deep and then it's the wrong problem and then they abandon it, but then they're still paying for it monthly and all kinds of things like that. So the goal is that I'm trying to help people avoid those situations, or you're just straight up end up being way too, you get so busy, you don't have time to properly implement it. Um, and so for me, like, yeah, I've been in certain scenarios with people and I have some ideas of pieces of software that are going to work well for them. But at the end of the day, it's always about um, understanding their needs first, going out, doing the research. And I have kind of the business background and the technical expertise to kind of put those two things together so that I'm, finding a solution that's going to work well for your business because I understand how businesses work, and then also finding the right piece of software because I understand, how software works. So the situation you're describing is exactly what I want to help people avoid or solve.
So I guess to sum that up, I'll ask you, what's the best fit for Flywheel Consulting?
Yeah, so I think the there's a couple different scenarios. One is the scenario I've already described where you're like feeling disorganized, you don't feel like you have good processes in your business, especially if you're still doing a lot of pen and paper or Excel stuff, or you're just like there's a lot of manual effort and you don't feel like you have good visibility in your business. Like that's going to be one of the lowest hanging fruit situations that I can help with. And then more broadly, I think there's two other categories. One is going to be higher level, um, like IT implementation projects where, um, where you need to make an investment in more expensive software or hardware projects, but you don't have any internal, like you don't have an internal IT person or CTO, because there's MSPs, which is managed service providers, which is the companies or your regular run of the mill IT folks, which want to come in and manage your network, set up your workstations, deal with network security and stuff like that. That's not what I want to do, but but maybe you need to implement an ERP, which is an enterprise resource planning software. And those guys, they'll like install the software for you, but they don't want to manage they don't want to manage the project. And that's where I'm going to come in and help you like manage the project soup to nuts, represent your interests with the software company. And then finally, it's just, it doesn't always have to be a technical solution or an IT solution to things. It's about anyone that's like dealing with pain points in their business and they know that they're struggling with, but they just don't have the time to get it done. And so where I can come in and help them, figure out how to solve the problem and take the time to do it to work with them to get it done because they're too busy working in their business and they don't have time to work on it.
Has there been any client reaction where they said something that kind of stuck out to you, like, ever since we've implemented this, I can now do something on their business that they couldn't before?
Yeah, I think just to keep it consistent with the HVAC example, um, they were a little stuck in their ways, and I had to make a little bit of a hard sell. And I don't want to make. I'm never going to make a hard sell, and then I'm just trying to get money from you. But I'm making a hard sell, and like I'm confident that this is going to help you immensely. And they were, once we started going through the features and we got it implemented, um, they were just blown away by how much how much easier everything was, and how much how much easier the change was than they expected once they actually started using it. They started like experiencing the benefits so immediately that that they couldn't believe it.
Do you still follow up with them? Are they still using it? I guess you know what? I'm going to take a step back there. How is your follow up with the clients? What can they expect from you? So after you implement it, are you still there? What does the behind the scenes look like for you after that?
Yeah, that's kind of a discussion on a client by client basis. It depends. Like, I'm always there for clients. Once we work together, you can always hit me up and say, hey, I'm having this problem. I'm not just going to leave you on an island. It depends how much hand holding a client wants. So some people just want, help picking out a piece of software and maybe some light implementation, and then they want to run with it themselves. And then I'm just there to answer questions. Other people, like that client in particular, they reach out to me on a semi regular basis to ask for changes or adaptations to things. And then of course once we implement the project, I'm checking in for sure, depending on the nature of the project, for a while to make sure everything's going smoothly. And I'm helping a lot in that one. I'm even helping with the training of the techs and the office staff on how to use it, and we're working through all that together. And then kind of you slowly back off as they get the hang of it.
I like that. So you're not just implementing it. I'm thinking from a small business perspective, but it's not just with the owner. You're getting the whole staff involved so that everybody knows. And at some point, it's not just you answering questions. Everyone knows the system, so they'll be able to help each other.
Exactly. And that's where it comes down to me being software agnostic. Like there's certain people out there like that are trying to sell like point of sale software. And lots of times it can kind of be a little, and I'm generalizing here. I'm not saying everyone is, but things can get a little like, or credit card processing can get a little scammy. Like they're just trying to sell you the service so they can make their cut and then they bounce. Right. I view this as a partnership. I want long-term relationships with people, and I want to see people succeed. Like I'm not in it. Like it's not about the sale. It's about working together to help your business succeed long term.
I like that. I love that, actually.
Thanks.
So before we move on, I'll just ask you one more. And what's the best compliment a client has ever given you?
Yeah, you were right. Not that it's about being right, because it's critical to listen to the customer, and make sure that you're serving their needs. But I can't say that my ego doesn't appreciate people saying, I'm glad I listened to you.
Well, it's good to have the validation too of you had a plan and we probably fought you on it and it was successful in the end.
Exactly, exactly. Especially when it's a hard sell and they agree and they acknowledge that it was worth it.
It just shows too that you do your research beforehand, that you can come
Yeah,
up with a plan to implement and it's successful. And it might be a hard sell for the client, but you've also done the work before you talk to them to know what they needed and
exactly,
listen to them when you
exactly.
did talk to them.
Hmm.
Alrighty, so we're going to move on to my favorite section of every podcast, the local rapid fire segment. Being that you're a Petaluma based business, I'm going to ask you questions about your favorite things to do in Petaluma. And this round of local rapid fire is presented by the Bay Fitness. Why go to the gym when the gym can come to you? The Bay Fitness brings the experience of the personal training studio to the comfort of your home. The Bay Fitness has been named Best Personal Training and Wellness Company in Petaluma 2 years in a row in both 2023 and 2024 by Distinguished Teaching, and their trainers have received 3 awards as the top personal trainers and fitness instructors in the area in that same time period. Visit www.thebayfitness.com to secure your spot to experience the award winning concierge service for yourself. So, we're going to move on here now. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Favorite place to eat in Petaluma could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, you name it.
Oh, that's a tricky one. Um, I'm going to tell you right now that things have slowed down since I have 2 kids, 2 young children, so we don't get out like we used to. We're more takeout. The takeout that we enjoy, O Sushi and City Chopsticks for Chinese food. Two great local places.
Okay. What's your favorite view in Petaluma?
Oh, view. That's a good one. Um, there's some pretty cool views when you go up. I forget the road, but you can kind of go up the mountains. And there's a road. Well, that's a great recommendation. I can't remember the road. But also like just going to hiking at Helm Putnam has a lot of great views from there, or Schollenberger Park. It's not, I both those are great spots.
We take our pup to Putnam Park regularly,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
nice.
And if you want a coastal recommendation, not technically Petaluma, but not far, is Bodega Head is pretty unbeatable if people haven't been there.
Okay.
It's up on the cliff. It's cliffs. It's right outside Bodega Bay, up on the cliffs over the ocean, and there's some nice hike there. Nice. It's gorgeous.
Love it. I'm making note of that for myself selfishly. What's
Yeah,
your
great place
favorite?
to go with the dog.
Okay, perfect. My wife will love that. What's your favorite event or festival in Petaluma?
There's a lot of them, but I'm gonna have to go with the Butter and Egg Day parade. Um, my family has hosted the cutest chick contest every year at the parade um, since my birth. Well, actually before my birth, I think. Um, so I've literally gone to that contest or gone to the parade pretty much every year of my life. So it has a special place in my heart.
Love that. And I think that might have been every Petaluma guess answer is the butter and egg festival.
Well, there's some other good ones. Like I mean, I'm always a sucker for the fair, right? There's the Sonoma Marin Fair in Petaluma. I'm a sucker for a good fair. There's also the Petaluma Speedway. It's not a specific event, but it's pretty cool to see like local racing that's become less and less common these days. So there's a lot of good things that happen in Petaluma.
What's your favorite business in Petaluma other than your own? Or
Uh,
or the farm. You can't choose the farm either.
I won't choose the farm. I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have a favorite business, but I will. I will make a shout out. If you're to Dan and Chetta over at Sequence Mortgage, which is a little bit. If you have home financing needs, he's helped me a lot get my business up off the ground. Has been a great friend. I used him to refi my house. When the rates were really low, a couple years ago. So I'd give him a shout out because he'll do you right if you're looking for a mortgage or something, refi your house or something like that. So
Perfect. And
yeah.
what's something you haven't done yet? And I know you're born and raised here, so it might be a tough question, but something you haven't done yet in Petaluma that's on your wish list.
Hmm. On my wish list. Oh man, I think I'm trying to. That's a tough one. I'm not sure if there's anything I haven't done in like Petaluma proper. Um, I'm trying to think here. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I don't know if I have anything for you. there is there is like a one thing I've always wanted to do, not Petaluma proper, but in Katati, is they have an accordion festival, which sounds kind of ridiculous,
I
but
hear good things.
it's not just accordions, it's like folk music, and I'm a sucker for that, and I've been wanting to go to that. It's a tough sell for my wife, so we haven't made it there, but let's go with that one. I've been wanting to go to that for a while.
Okay. And where can our listeners find you after we're done here today?
Yeah, so flywheelconsulting.co, not .com.co, just all one word, Flywheel Consulting, is the website where you can reach out to me, contact me. You can always shoot me an email, Jonathan, JONATHAN, at flywheelconsulting.co, or you can find me at LinkedIn as Jonathan Mahrt, MAHRT.
I always ask people to say, spell things out if there's something that may be spelled one way or another. Jonathan is spelled a certain way, obviously, your last name. You covered all those bases, so great job there.
Both of those are tricky for both my first name and my last name are tricky for people, so I'm very used to having to spell them out. This is a quick aside, but I've met maybe one person. I've met lots of Jonathans in my life. I've met maybe one person, I'm not even sure, that had an H in Jonathan, but so many people want to try and spell Jonathan with an H, and almost no one spells it that way. So everyone just wants to take the word John and add a thin to it. But anyway, it always surprises me. But it's a quick aside.
So we've gone through a whole lot of stuff today. Is there anything that I haven't asked today that you wanted to add before we sign off here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the takeaway is like the reason I'm doing this is because I love learning about people's businesses and I love helping people solve problems, and I know how busy people get just getting the work done. And so what I want to do is, help people move their businesses forward when sometimes they're struggling to find the time to do it, even when they know they have something they need to get done, a problem they need to solve. Um, So that's the whole idea of Flywheel Consulting is helping people get the things done to keep the flywheel moving. So in their business.
I appreciate the heart and passion that you bring to all this, and
Thank you.
that it's it shows, which is amazing. I think if I am a potential customer listening to this, I want to hear that they care about what happens to my business. That, like you said, it's not a make the sale one and done and then I'm out. It's still being there to support you. You might have questions down the line of maybe some processes change, maybe things have grown and you need to adapt, and you have someone there to help you adapt and yourself. So I appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, that just comes from I you know I grew up, I worked on my family's farm for 12 years. I've grew up on a farm, and everything's handshake deals, long-term relationships, kind of like good old fashioned, just like trustworthiness, reliability, being a person of your word, and working together to business relationships should be mutually beneficial for the long term. That's why it's called a relationship. You know, so that's kind of the foundation for how I approach everything.
Well, that is a rarity today, and I think most people would agree.
Thanks. Unfortunately, yes, but I'm just, trying to do things you know, do things the old school way, but with new technologies. How about that?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So to finish this off, we're going to leave Petaluma for a second, and this podcast is all about highlighting local businesses in both Marin and Sonoma counties. So outside of Petaluma, is there one business that you think is making a huge difference that deserves some recognition?
Outside Petaluma, um, I will say that if you need, like straight IT services for your business, um, this is a little bit more niche outside of like a restaurant or a coffee shop or something like that. Um, I've worked a lot with a place called V as in Victor and R Solutions. There's a guy, the owner's name is Corey Vader, and absolutely rock solid guy. All the same values that I've espoused here, he would 100% agree with. If you need someone to like help you with your computer systems, your servers, your network, that kind of stuff, you can't go wrong working with those guys. They're awesome.
Wonderful.
Based in Santa Rosa.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. It was a joy having you, and hopefully everyone's going to go out, find you, flywheelconsulting.co, not .com, .co. We'll see
There
you
we go.
there. I'm your host, Kyle Masterful, signing off with Jonathan Mahrt, and we will see you next time.